Hello, welcome to video training. What we'll be covering in this video is the basic functions on doing a pot invoice. And we'll talk about the basic functions. We're talking about selling inventory, we're talking about discounting prices, we're talking about updating any line items, whether it be quantity, no charge items, selling non-stock items. Okay, for this demonstration we're going to hit pots invoice. Now the first question that's going to get asked is, who is the customer we're selling these pots to? Now, as you know, you can use the mouse or you can just use the function keys. We do that for easy use. I'm going to demonstrate this particular video using not having a customer. Now, we don't recommend doing that. I highly recommend you watch Tracking Customers on the very next video. There again, we have to stress it's extremely important in this day and age to track your customers. It gives you a world of capabilities. As you know, we have email and text messaging capabilities. You cannot email or text message customers if you don't have them in your system. And watch the video Tracking Customers and you'll see the importance and why you would want to do this. It only takes a couple of seconds to add a customer to your system. And the benefits that you get from that are well worth it. Okay, right now I'm just going to hit F1 and we're going into a pot invoice. You'll always see yellow. Yellow is always where the system is saying, okay, you want to sell something, give me a pot number. I can type in a pot number, and I'm not typing in a manufacturer's code. You don't need to do that in this system. In this system, you type in a pot number, it will figure out who the manufacturer is. If there happens to be two pots with the same number that are different manufacturers, it will list both of them and you can select, and I'll demonstrate that. Now, one thing you did notice, I typed in P1 and BR80S popped up on the screen. Well, that is also a feature in the system. You have the ability to add what we call quick reference numbers. If you have pots that you sell a lot of and you don't want to be typing in long pot numbers like I'm doing here, for demonstration purposes, I'm trying to go as fast as I can. So when I type in P1, I want it to go out and get BR80S. You will also see that if you type in a superseded pot number. If I type in a older pot number, it'll put the number that I typed in here, but it'll put the new number here where it's located in my inventory. It's also telling me that the price for this customer is $2.95. Now, because this is a cash customer or a non-customer invoice, everything's going to be list price, and I manually have to update the prices if I want to give this person a discount. If we were using a customer, it would look at the customer file and automatically discount based on how you set that customer up. So let's suppose the customer wants 4. I'm just going to type in 4. Now notice what it did. It's got the 4 in the invoice, it pulled them out of inventory, and as of right now, this invoice would be $12.63 with tax. The number is still here. Now the reason we keep that in there is, there again, we're trying to save you keystrokes. If in fact the customer changes his mind and says, oh, you know what, maybe I'll have 6. Well, I can do one of two things. I can click on that line and change the quantity to 6, or I can just hit the enter key because the exact same number is there and say, you know what, let's add 2 more. And now we got 6. So it always saves the number that you last used. Now, another thing you can do, is I want to mention right here, is that when you type in a pot number or you scan in a pot number. Now if you're scanning, there are options when we scan. We can scan and automatically default to 1, so it'll just, if somebody bought 2, you'd just hit it twice. Or we can scan and it'll stop and ask you for the quantity. These are options that are built into the system. One thing that you keep in mind, if you do type in a pot number, if the customer wants 1, it assumes that 1 is that's what's in the quantity field. So what we don't want you to do is physically type in 1, then take the mouse or hit the enter key. It's just a lot of extra work. If a customer just wants 1 of these particular pots, you type in the pot number, it's going to display the screen. I just need to hit the enter key. There again, we're trying to save your keystrokes. All right. So let's do some other features. What happens if we don't know a pot number and we just want to do a lookup? Well, there's a couple of different ways you can get to the lookup screen. Number one, if this pot number is blank and you just hit the enter key, it'll go to your search engine. Your search engine is a very powerful tool. Suppose I was looking for a particular pot that started with 1100. If I just typed in 1100 and I'm not putting in a vendor code, that means it's going to search my whole inventory. And keep in mind, this is telling me that it's looking at my inventory. What I want to explain, and we've talked about this on the previous training level, is the system is set up like two separate file cabinets. We have one file cabinet of all your pot items that you've sold at one time, you have some history on, or you have in stock. Average dealer might be 5 to 10,000. We also have another file cabinet that has every single manufacturer file that you can buy items from. There could be millions in there. So it always looks in your inventory file first. These are items that we've had activity on. If it can't find it there, it'll automatically search your manufacturer file. So when I type in 1100 and hit the enter key, it's going to look for any pot in my inventory file that starts with 1100. Now it defaults to looking by pot number. If I'm looking for one particular manufacturer, I can just type in that one manufacturer, and now it's only looking for that manufacturer. Now another thing is that if I hit keyword, keyword is a powerful tool. It looks for that particular 1100 anywhere in the file, whether it be in the description, whether it be in the pot number, or whether it be any place. So if I hit keyword, now it's going through my inventory looking for anything with 1100 in it. Now notice what it did. It found this pot here. Now even though there's dashes in the pot number, the computer knows there's an 1100. So it's a very powerful search engine. Now if I didn't find what I was looking for here, maybe I want to say, well, let me check. Obviously it's nothing I've ever sold or bought before. I'm going to go to my manufacturer file. Now notice the color changes, and it's telling me that okay, now we're looking in our catalog file and we're looking at all different manufacturers. Like I said before, if I want to narrow it down to one particular manufacturer, now we're just looking at one manufacturer. Now if we pick a particular pot from here, you can pick any pot you want, and let's pick this pot right here. Now notice how it has 3 asterisks in a bin location. What that means is that this is something that I've never ordered, never stocked, I have no history on whatsoever. The price is coming from my manufacturer file. It's something that we've never had any activity on. Now if the customer wants 5 of them, I'm going to say 5. Now I know right away we don't have it in stock. If the customer says, no, I just don't want it, then obviously you'd click no sale. But let's go 5. Now notice what happened. I have 2 buttons that popped up. One that says special order, one that says pre-bill. Now there is a whole separate video on how to do special orders. Very important. Definitely want to watch that video. It'll go step by step on how to handle special orders. We're not going to get too deep into that right now. Right now we're going to talk more on pre-bill. What's pre-bill? Well, pre-bill is when people typically use that when they first get the software. You can start invoicing customers almost immediately. You may not have your whole inventory in the system. So you may look at this pot and say, look, I have it standing in my hand. I got 3 of them right here. I want to sell it to the customer. Maybe the computer doesn't know I have it, but I do. Well, pre-bill means I'm going to override the system. Even though the system doesn't think you have it, I don't have any, I'm going to pre-bill it, which means I'm selling it to this customer because I know I have them. Is the price. That code actually happens to be what the cost is. So that'd be an asterisk. It's recorded as what we call a pre-bill sale. So that's one of the ways you can sell things in inventory. Now let's do another thing. I'm going to just type in ACC. Now what you're going to have here is when you type in a pot number in the system, it is automatically going to search and find it either in your inventory file or your manufacturer file automatically. If it can't find it in either one of those files, it is automatically going to give me a lookup. And now when it goes to a lookup, it looks at one file, the inventory file first, then the manufacturer file, because obviously if you have it in stock, you want to use the one that's in stock. Now because I don't have that number, so when you make a mistake typing, lots of times you'll pop to the screen and you'll say, well, how did I get here? I didn't want to do a lookup. Well, what that means is you made a mistake typing, it couldn't find it. It's always going to list it, trying to help you out. So lots of times, like if you were looking for a spark plug and you know it was a BR8, you just may want to type in BR8 and all your BR8 is going to list together on a screen. If you find the part that you're looking for, let's just suppose I want to use this one right here. You can click on that part, put it on your invoice. So now we took that out of inventory, it's sitting in my invoice. Another thing I want to mention. Notice that this happens to be a Yamaha part. Yamaha has a lot of dashes. Many manufacturers have dashes and spaces and things like that. With the system, and there again we try to make it as easy as we can. If you don't need to type in the dashes if you don't want, or if you type them in, well, that's fine. Now I type this number here. It's not exactly the way the manufacturer wants it. But when you hit the enter key, it's going to say, look, is that the part you want? Now if it is not the part you want, then you can just say, no, that's not it. Now whenever you tell it that that's not the part you want, it'll come back automatically, ask you if, tell you exactly what you have in stock. And if it was on order, it would tell you that it was on order. And have a couple of these other buttons pop up here. So you have the option of actually, you didn't want to sell it, but it will ask you if you want a special order, because even though you have some in stock, maybe you want a special order for a customer. Now, at this point in time, I can type in any part number I want. Here's where my yellow is, here. So let's do this here. Let's go in, and I'm just going to type in a part that's probably non-existent. It gives me a lookup. There again. Let's go over this here. I pick the part that I want, or if I don't want a part, I just hit the escape key. I want one. It's on my invoice. All right. Now, let's go over some of the other features. Obviously, we've talked about selling parts that you don't have in inventory, and we talked about the pre-bill option. Well, there is another method of selling parts that you may not have in inventory. It's basically selling pretty much anything that you want. For example, suppose I make up a number and I just say, look, I've got this new part and I want to sell it. My system doesn't know anything about it. It's not in my manufacturer file. System has no clue what that is. Well, there's two ways of doing that. One is I can hit the enter key, which will go to a lookup trying to find it. It's not in my system. I know I don't need to look in my manufacturer file. I don't need to look any further. I know it's not here. I'm going to hit the escape key. Now, we're going to click on this here called Invoice Options. And I always recommend for new customers, you definitely want to just look at this. Now, keep in mind, you can use the mouse, click on this. All the features that you need to do in a part system are listed right here. One of the things that we want to do is we want to pre-bill. Like I talked before, pre-bill is to sell a part that's in your manufacturer file or in your inventory that you just don't have in stock, but you want to override the system. Or you can also use it for selling a part that the system doesn't know anything about. Now when I hit pre-bill, it's going to pre-bill whatever number's in there. So we're going to hit pre-bill here. And now, because it doesn't know what it is, it wants to know who's the manufacturer. It wants to know a description. What is it? How many are you going to sell to the customer? What's the price going to be? What's the cost? Now, if you don't know, you can just hit the enter key. And now that's on my invoice. So that's one way to sell a part that's not even in your system. Another thing is we have what we call an open item. An open item is you can actually add any particular line item. Give it a part number that you want. Hit the tab key. When you hit the tab key and type in the word open, the system knows that this is an open line item. I can charge you for anything I want to charge you for. And maybe we're just going to call this new, and same thing. Well, okay, how many you want? 2. What do you want to sell it for? And now that's what we call an open item. It's on my invoice. Okay. Now, other things I'll just quickly go over here on selling inventory. You have the ability, this is a part with a note. I entered a part. Now there again, that's in the previous chapter, how to enter inventory items with notes or pictures. In this particular one, I have a picture attached and some notes that are actually going to display on the screen. You can set them up so they display on the screen or just print out on the invoice or both. This is a pot which actually will bring up a kit. And there again, that's another section that you may want to look up, setting up kits. This is what it's going to look like when you type it in. It obviously tells you your manufacturer, how many you need, what you have in stock, what the price is, and you can pick the ones that you want to add to the invoice. Also, when you type in a pot, this right here, okay, is $27. The customer wants 4. There again, the 2 buttons pop up. It says, what do you want to do here? Now, if the customer says, look, I don't want to do anything, you don't have them in stock, I don't want you to order it for me, then you would just hit the escape key. If in fact the customer says special order it, then you'd hit the special order key. Now that's obviously something that we're going to be going over later. Okay, let's go over some other functions here. How about a pot like this here? This is an alternator. We're going to say, okay, we want 1, and it also has a core charge. So obviously, over setting up inventory, this is a video that you may want to look on how to add a core charge to an invoice. Let's do this right here. If you type in a pot, I'm just going to put this here. Now this is a pot that's superseded and it's got the information from the manufacturer file. If it's a pot that you've stocked, it would automatically show you the number that you typed in and automatically go to the newest number. If it's a pot that you've never stocked before, it's going to walk you through the supersessions so you can really double check to make sure that you don't have that in inventory. We don't want you ordering pots that you actually have. The system will automatically keep track of this stuff for you. Now, if I say that I want one of these, now I don't have them, but I know this pot has been superseded. So if you just type in SS, it'll automatically go to the newest number. And obviously I don't have that in the stock neither, but if I want to put it on my invoice, obviously I can do that. And I'm going to hit F3, and now that's on my invoice. Now, some of the other things that you may want to keep in mind. We've got this invoice that's $828. How do we change it? What if the customer says, look I need to delete something. I don't want this. I changed my mind. I want to change the quantity. You can change anything you want on this invoice. Now, there's a couple different ways of doing it. For new customers, I recommend using this because it's pretty straightforward. Everything you pretty much want to do is listed right here. Let's go over a couple of them right now. And for example, pre-bill, we've talked about that. Deleting a line. Well, it's self-explanatory. If the customer says, I changed my mind, I don't want a couple of these line items, then you'd click here. Now, when you click on deleting a line, changing prices, they all work the same way. And it's important to understand how this works. You'll see a green line pop up here, and it'll basically say, okay, tell me the line that you want to delete. Now, I could have just selected a line at the beginning, and we'll show you that in a few minutes. But basically, it gets you into what we call delete mode. And it stays there until you get out of it by hitting the escape key. Now, the reason we do that is because lots of times when customers are modifying an invoice, they may do just more than one line. So to save keystrokes, you can say, okay, what line you want? You don't want these 2 pots here? Yep. You don't want that one? Yep. What else do you don't want? Well, maybe I don't want this particular pot right here. Okay. Any other pots you don't want? And there again, I can select any line item I want and delete it from the invoice. When I'm done deleting the line items that I wish to delete from this invoice, I'm going to hit my escape key. Now I'm done deleting. What happens if I want to change a price? Well, there again, you can set your employees up on who can do this and who cannot, and that goes by security levels in your security system. But assuming your employee has the authorization to do this, you can actually cost plus. Now I can cost plus this whole invoice. I can cost plus just a particular line. I can do a percentage, or I can do a markup, markdown. Let's just do a percentage, and I'm going to do 10%. Now, it's asking me a question. Pick the lines that I want to do 10% for, or if I hit F11, it'll discount the whole invoice 10%. So obviously if I click a line, that went down to $9. If I click this, that went down to $3.12. Now when the invoice prints, it'll show the customer what the list price is and what the discount price is. The highlighted blue parts are the ones that I've discounted 10%. If you click on the line again, it's not going to double up on it. If I want to discount everything on here at F11, this whole invoice will discount 10%. But let's suppose somebody says, yes, but what about this pot here for $2.59? I can buy that down the street for $2.50. Well, there again, I can do the same thing, but this time I want to do what we call a markup markdown. Now, if he says, okay, I can buy that for $2.50, I can select on it. It shows me what the price is, and I can just say, okay, we're going to give it to you for $2.50. Maybe this one here, I'm going to do $4. Now, keep in mind, if I just type in 4 and hit the Enter key, it's going to do $4. On this pot here, if I wanted to sell it for $8.55, I would type in 8.55. So, if you're rounding things off to a whole number, you just need to type in 1. It's $1. Hit the escape key when I'm done. So you can kind of see how everything works here. Same thing if you need to no charge something. They all work very similar. Why do you want to no charge it? Now there's a whole section on warranties, internal charges. The word charge here is very important. Everywhere you see the word charge, a warranty has to get set up because somebody else is going to get billed if you do a warranty. Now normally it's done in the service module, but you have the ability to also do it in pots. And if you do a warranty, it's going to ask you who the warranty company is, and it'll automatically bill that warranty company internally. You want to watch the video on setting up warranties and doing warranties in service and pots. In this basic video, we're going to just talk about internal sale. If it doesn't have the word charge on it, that means it will not ask you who needs to get billed. Nobody's going to get billed. The customer's getting it for nothing. So you're just basically giving it away and you're saying why. I'm just no charging it because I want to no charge it. Maybe it was included. I'm just donating it. I previously billed it. I'm just doing an internal sale for one reason or another. I'm not charging this customer. My profit margin is going to be a little bit less. So let's just say we're going to just do a, hey, look at, we're just going to donate it to the person, and I'm not going to charge them for this one here, and I'm not going to charge for this here. Obviously, you can see the ones that we've actually clicked for no charge. Okay, well, let's talk about some of the other things. Special order. There again, watch the video that covers special orders in detail. We also have this here, miscellaneous. Well, we can add freight. We can just type in any miscellaneous charge we want. We have the ability of maybe somebody says, look, I don't have any money. Can you hold these pots for me? I'll be back tomorrow and pick them up. I'll give you $50 now. You can take a deposit. Let's just add some freight. All right. You type in your amount. Is your freight taxable? This is a default. In some states they don't tax freight, in some states they do. So this should be set appropriately. There again, the system has a lot of internal options that need to get set up properly, or you're going to have to work harder. The default here is no, so I'm just going to hit my Enter key. Here's my freight charge. Obviously, you can do any type of miscellaneous charge you want. You know, if I just want to charge $20 and I want to say what it's for, you know, okay. Now we can save this, and this list right here does a lot of the same things the buttons do. I'm just showing you this because sometimes it's everything listed in one place. You don't need to hold the mouse over anything to see what it does. So if I want to save this invoice, why would I save this invoice? Well, there again, what if the customer said, I forgot my wallet at home. I'll go back and get it. I'll be back tomorrow. Well, you don't want to have to delete this invoice and then redo everything that you just did. So what you can do is save it. Now when you save the invoice, everything's been taken out of inventory. So what you're really doing by hitting the save button is you're saying, I'm saving these pots for you. You're going to be back tomorrow. If you're not back tomorrow, I'm going to bring these pots back up on the screen, delete the invoice. They're going to put them all back in inventory. But as of now, if I only have one of these things, I'm saving it for you. You told me you're coming in tomorrow. That's why you'd hit the save button. Print the invoice means, okay, I'm done. Customer's going to pay me, and he's going out the door. I can immediately go to a pot lookup. I can add a particular note on this particular invoice. Now, our invoices, obviously, they're custom designed for you. They'll have your disclaimer on the invoice. That's pretty standard. There's also a section for a note that you can change. It'll print on every single invoice. Typically, we'll put their hours of operation and a little message there, hey, we've got a special going on, things like that. But you also have the ability to put a note on just for this one particular invoice. And it's self-explanatory. You click here. You can type in whatever you want as a note. There is also a spell checker, so sometimes it's a good idea to use the spell checker. This note is going to print at the bottom of the invoice when it prints. And it's pretty, you can type in whatever you want. It'll automatically word wrap. It'll automatically do everything for you. Okay. Update sales parameters. Okay, we're going to be going over that. Look at the track customers. In the middle of an invoice, you can go back and, like for example, I don't have a customer's name on this invoice. Maybe I all of a sudden decide, you know what, I need to put this person in my database. He looks like he's going to be a real good customer. There again, we recommend every sale goes into your customer database. But you can go right back to the beginning, add him in as a customer. Look at the next video tracking customers on details on how to do this. Also, you can hold items. Maybe the customer says, look, I want to take 4 of these things home now. I'll come back tomorrow and get the rest. You have the capability of doing that. You can add a PO number. Customer may say, look, you're going to bill me. If you give me I want a PO number on the invoice, you get paid a lot quicker. This right here, display customer information. There again, we don't have any customer information. This is a non-customer sale. There again, all this stuff is going to be covered in the next video. You can also change departments by line. You can change tax rates. If you're a multi-location dealer, the system will automatically, when you type in pot numbers, search for other location and show you what location has what items. We also interface with the WorldShip system. Also, we can print a small ticket printer as well as a large invoice. Most customers use large invoice. Obviously, it looks much more professional, separates you from the Walmarts and wholesale type companies. The other thing is you can do both. You can print labels for these particular pots. Sales analysis is something that's interested. At any point in time, you can look and just say what's going on with this sale. All right, on this particular sale, I'm making $174 profit. My discount amount that we're giving away is $91. Here's what my list is. Here's what I'm selling it for. Here's what my cost is. My margin is 28%. My customer discount is 13%. My markup is 40%. So I'll let you know exactly what's going on with this invoice. Okay, there's a separate section on how to pull pots from your Fiche program and put them on an invoice. That's another video you need to watch. Also, watch this section here on display service information. What that'll do, it'll go out and look at any product that you've worked on for this customer. Typically what happens is customer says, I need something for my product. I forgot what the year is. I forgot what the model is. I forgot what size something is. You can click there. It'll now go into your service department database and your unit systems sales database, and you can look up exactly what this customer has. It'll go exactly to that particular unit. There are only 3 ways out of this program. You can actually delete the invoice, which means you didn't do anything. Everything just goes away. You can save the invoice, which means things are taken out of inventory and saved for this customer, or you can what we call finalize the sale, which means we're selling the pots to the customer. So we kind of went over this list right here, but let's look at some other ways you can do things. I'm just doing that because it's pretty easy. If you don't want to use the mouse, you can just hit those function keys and you'll go exactly right to that. Another way to update any line item on here is to click on a particular line. Like for example, suppose the customer says, I want to change the quantity on that. I can click right here. When I click on a line, it gives me my options of what I need to do. Do I want to change the quantity? Do I want to delete a line? Do I want to change the price? Do I want to, it's all the features that you can do on a particular line. Do I want to show a picture of a particular pot if I have a picture? Do I want to show a note? Do I want to change the salesperson? Do I want to just print a label? So these things are all things that you can do for a particular line item. Now if I say I want to change the quantity, it goes to the line that I selected. I selected that particular line, and it says right now we took 4 out of inventory. I'm changing it to 10. And so now we changed it to 10. So by clicking on any line, you'll see all the different things that you can do to that particular line. And if you hit delete, there again, it works exactly the same. It gets you into this delete node. If I want to delete the whole invoice, I would just hit F4, hit the delete key, or select the line that I want to delete. And when I'm done, hit the escape key. Also, you got the buttons up here. This is to cash it out. This is to delete the invoice. This is to save the invoice. This right here will cash it out on a small ticket receipt printer. Some people can have 2. This is an interesting feature. Check to see if there's anything outstanding for this customer. Well, we don't have a customer here. This is just a just going to say cash sale on this here. If tracking customers, you'll be able to click on that and see anything that's outstanding for a particular customer. This will take you back to the beginning, so we can change the sale type. We can change it to, hey, I want to put this customer in my system. This obviously is to use the fiche programs. Watch the video transferring fiche pots to a pots invoice. Same thing with this here. This will get you to your customer information. This here is when you're redeeming gift certificates. This right here is to print out a packing slip. Watch that in the mail order option, because in the mail order option you will be printing packing slips. At any time you want, you can email a copy of this invoice to whoever you want to do. If this was a customer invoice, you'd actually be able to click on it and email him a copy invoice if you're talking to him on the phone. Alright, let's just cash this out. I'm going to hit cash it out. Now it wants to know what's the method of payment. Is he giving you cash? Is he giving you a check? Is he giving you a credit card? Is it a split payment? Maybe it's half and half. Or are you billing his account? Now you can't bill his account because this is not a customer. So let's just do cash. It says, okay, the order is $779. Let's suppose he gives us $800, and I'm going to give him $20.91 change back, and my sale is now complete. Now I went in there and showed you how to do a lot of different things. Just to show you how easy it is, I'm just going to click here. I'm going to say, okay, we're just a cash customer, I'm the same person. He wants these spark plugs. I'm going to hit 4. That's it. $12, sir. He's out the door. Maybe he's giving me a check on this one. I'm going to type in the check number, and we're done. The invoice is printed, things are taken out of inventory, and we're all done. One last thing I wanted to show you. We're going to go back in again. I'm going to hit this here. Now there again, you can just use the function keys. You can use the mouse if you wish. But we talked about one thing. If you type in, or let's do this here, yes. Whenever you type in a pot that has more than one supplier, you'll see this list. So when you see this list pops up, one of 2 things happen. Either that's a pot number that has the same number with multiple suppliers, or you made a mistake typing in a pot. And from this point on, you can use your keyword search, which is a very powerful tool. If you're looking for something, we highly use that keyword lookup. If you find the pot you want, it's on the invoice. Now, if I know that pot is done from multiple suppliers, I also can do this. I can say, look, I know we have that under 4 or 5 suppliers, but I know I want NGKs. If you hit the tab key and type in NGK, it's not going to give you a lookup. It knows exactly what you're doing. So we quickly went over a lot of the basic things you do at the POTS counter. Now, if this particular customer changes his mind and says, you know what, I don't really want any of this stuff, okay, then I'm going to hit delete, and I want to delete the tire sale. One thing you want to do is watch the video for tracking special orders. I'll quickly go over just how you want to do that. That's extremely important. Let's go here. I'm going to go in, and let's just say I'm going to look up a customer this time. This is the way we normally do it, and there again, watch that customer tracking video. In this case, we're going to sell the customer some pots. And maybe we're going to come over here and the customer wants 4 of those. Don't have them. If you don't have a pot, if you really have it, you're going to hit pre-bill. We've gone over that. If you don't have a pot, you want to tell the computer, we need to order this pot. This now is telling the computer who it's for, how many the customer wants, when he wants them, stock order, next day, And now we've got an invoice that basically says he wants to go home with $8.51. He also wants me to order $106 worth of parts. When I go to cash that out, it's going to ask me for a deposit. In my case, I have my system set up for 50%. The 53 is half of the 106. Most customers set up for 100. You can change it anything you want. I'm just going to say, look, I need $100 for me to order those parts. And the total due is 100 for a deposit plus $8 here. There again, if we were doing a split payment, you know, we could actually do a split payment here, and let's just say he's giving me a $50 cash, and maybe the rest he's going to give me a check, and here's my check number. So we just did a split payment. Okay, those are the basic functions in a parts invoice. Definitely watch the next invoice, tracking customers. Extremely important on tracking customers.